Hey everyone, I'm Joanna Rochester, and this is Real Talk Soul Alchemy, not Real Talk Steps to Serenity as it says on the banner there, but Real Talk Soul Alchemy. So Real Talk Soul Alchemy is a part of Speak Up and Empower, which is an online community of heart-centered people focused on creating the world that they envision for themselves. It is a membership-based community. And we provide experts with the tools that they need to have their voice heard, to share their wisdom, their knowledge, their story, to help others. And for those that are searching for more in their lives, to have the tools that they need to find that more. So I'm on here every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. And once again, this is Real Talk Soul Alchemy. Today, I wanted to talk a bit about so much is going on in the world right now, and people are getting overwhelmed by their journeys. They're feeling stuck in their lives and are challenged to really move forward, right? They feel it's like sometimes it's one step forward and three steps backwards. So I wanted to encourage you today a bit more about how to come unstuck. So many of my clients come to me and say that they feel stuck in their lives. It's part of what's going on in the world right now. It's part of, majority of my clients are people that are, their late 30s to mid 50s. And although I certainly have older and younger, but that's the majority of them. And a lot of people are at that point in their lives where they're looking around and they're unsatisfied with their life. It's not doing anything for them anymore, especially women, because that's the majority of my clients. But I know men go through this and that midlife crisis. It's the same thing that women go through. But I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective, so don't judge me on that. But what it is that so often, women put themselves last. They take care of everyone else. They are focused on making sure that their kids are okay, their husband's okay, the house is taken care of, that their job is taken care of, that they're taking care of the sandwich generation with the adults or the seniors that need help and the children underneath them. And they become somewhere very low on that list of priorities. And what happens then is they reach that point, and there's all kinds of physiological and psychological reasons why a lot of people in their mid-40s hit this goalpost part of their lives where they're looking backwards going, this is not what I wanted, not what I thought, where I thought I would be right now. And then looking forward and go, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want, what makes me happy, what makes me satisfied. When I look in the mirror, I don't recognize myself anymore. So they're sitting there at that point in their lives going, WTF, what WTF, right? Like, what do I do now? I'm stuck. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I don't want. Well, I do know what I don't want, but I don't know how to achieve what I want. And so this is a real challenge for a lot of people. How do you once you, first of all, realize that you are stuck, because a lot of us go through life just, day to day and not taking a look at anything deeper than what's right in front of us. And this is a real challenge for a lot of people, because in order to grow, in order to become more aware, in order to uncover your story, to become unstuck, the need to be more aware of who you are is really important. The need to understand yourself is really important. So first of all, becoming aware enough to realize that you're not satisfied with your life, becoming aware enough to realize that, that you want to make changes and you want to undertake those changes. This is where the challenge comes in. So you become aware and you realize you're stuck. And then what do you do with that? Where do you go? Where do you start searching out the information that you need to become unstuck? So there are lots of things that you can do, but the biggest thing is to become more in touch with who you are. Who are you underneath your story? We all have a story that's been based upon things that we've heard about ourselves, labels that have been put on us. If you were told as a child that you were shy, then you probably always carried around that title with you. And, maybe you aren't really shy, but it is, at the time, You weren't comfortable, didn't have the tools that you needed to reach out, lower self-esteem. But now that you've changed, how do you become unstuck? How do you move forward? How do you recognize what your story is? Because that story is limiting you. It's preventing you from moving forward. It's putting blocks up. Because every time you think about doing something different, there's probably a part of you that goes, I can't do it, or I don't deserve that, or why do I think that's possible? All of these things prevent you from moving forward and becoming aware. And this is a true challenge. One of the issues is that our story doesn't allow us to see that the world, that the earth, that your life is limitless. Anything is possible for you. You can achieve anything once you let go of who you think you are, of who you, or what you think you're capable of. And so many of us really limit ourselves. So, what are your limitations? What is your story? Do you feel you deserve more? Do you feel that you are worthy? Do you feel that if you want more, that that's being selfish, that you should be thinking about other people more? And that's kind of one of those cultural things that in our world that not so much, or it's changing more for the younger generations. I see my kids and how they look at things, and it's different, and that's wonderful. But certainly for my generation, that it certainly was that, women, set yourself back. You don't take on more. You don't be the aggressor. That's very masculine, and we're supposed to be more feminine. That you don't, really stand out. I was certainly told to, it was certainly be seen and not heard as a kid, that's for sure. And I learned very early age to not get my mom upset and to just shut down. So these are tools that I've had to move through and come to understand that I didn't speak my voice for many, many years with my mom and dad, and then the partner that I chose, all of these things. And I ended up getting throat issues. And so many women in particular, but a lot of men too, don't feel that they are able to speak their voice. And eventually they reach the point where they just don't. But then they have a lot of throat issues. So if you have thyroid issues, if you have ear issues, if you have anything else that's associated with your throat, you may not be speaking your voice. If you're getting colds on a regular basis, all of these things could be indicators to you to speak up more, to understand more of who you are and your journey. A greater understanding of who you are and what that story is. I mentioned before about being told that you were shy. I was always told that I was shy as a child, but it was also part of one of those things that I had learned very early, not to do anything that irritated my mom. There were 6 kids and we were a lot. My dad was working a lot and not home very often. And so it was like, be quiet and learn your lesson, right? Of when you can be. And I was a very curious and inquisitive child and got into a lot of stuff. So I had to learn very early to be quiet. So, what else is your story? Other issues come up if you've had something traumatic in your life happen that, on some level, and this is not logical, but on some level, you blame yourself for what happened. So that has become your story, and there could be some shame that you're carrying. I've gone through a divorce, and there was shame for quite a while that, why couldn't I get that to work? So moving forward, like letting go of that shame and understanding that it's not your fault. And even to say your fault, that's a judgment that you've done something wrong. And, unless you went into an adventure, an exercise where you decided you were going to be mean, or you were going to do something to hurt someone, or something along that lines, more often than not, 99% of the time, we go into things with our best intention, putting our heart forward, thinking that we're doing what's best at that moment. And looking back, we can say, I could have done things differently, or I could have, said something differently. But this is the issue with looking back, is that we're judging based upon the wisdom and the knowledge that we have now, as opposed to what we were living with at that time. So when you look back, don't judge yourself for how you handled something, but when you look back, assess it for what perhaps you could do differently in the future. How could you move forward and stand in your power more? Do things so that the other person didn't become upset, but still, once again, standing in your power. And so often when people come to me and they are growing, they'll find that it's very challenging because people come, they start standing in their power and they start setting their boundaries and they start saying, this no longer works for me. This friendship doesn't work for me anymore because now I know I deserve more, or this relationship doesn't work for me because before it was me giving. Or even, with our kids, there is an expression that unselfish parents have selfish kids. And if you think about it, that is so true for the majority of us, right? We want to do so much for our kids. We want to help them. So we don't make them do a lot of things. And that comes back in our faces. And we end up with kids that, we're battling with when they're in their teens or older years. And, they're so used to us just doing it that they less. And we keep doing it because it's easier for us to do it than to, battle with them or argue with them or whatever. So coming back to that place of being, you can call it selfish, or you can say self first. And that's the way we should be living our lives, looking at what is best for me right now. Because ultimately, when you're coming from a heart-centered, confident position where you are assessing things with wisdom and knowledge, then you will put yourself first, knowing that what is truly best for you will be truly best for all those around you. When you're standing in your power, you are doing the right thing, and that will only help those around you. I have to encourage all my clients to understand that when you heal yourself, when you come from a place of strength and power, then you heal others. Those around you will be strongly affected. They'll see you as a role model. They'll see you standing in strength. They'll see you with purpose and have greater respect for you, greater appreciation for you, and ideally, that they will come to a place of perhaps changing the way they see you. Because so often that story that you've created for yourself, you've shared with other people, and your relationship with them is based upon your story as opposed to your truth. And so as you change and grow, you will come up against people that don't like you standing in your power. Could be because you're doing less for them. You're expecting more of them. You're putting it out to them that it's important for them to stand up themselves and to bring up their game a notch and to understand themselves better. But we don't really care about that part. We, of course, care, but it's still coming back to being self first. Who are you? Are you putting yourself first because you understand that you deserve, that you are worthy, that you can do more, that anything is possible for you? So take a look at how you see yourself. What is your story? How is that story blocking you? How is it limiting you? And there are so many things to be looked at here from how you talk about yourself. Is there that negative loop going on in your brain about your thoughts and how you see yourself? Do you ever call yourself an idiot? Do you ever say, oh my God, that's a stupid thing to do? Or, oh my God, you can't possibly wear that. You'll look horrible. We're very harsh on ourselves, and we speak harder to ourselves than we would ever speak to anyone else. And if you ever heard someone saying those things, you would be just shocked that they would ever say such mean things. So start to notice your own thoughts. How do you see yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Do you see yourself as an idiot, as a, bumbling or a spaz or whatever? So just being aware of it. And the more often you become aware of how you limit yourself, the more you can let go of those limitations and step into your power and step into your truth and have, start moving forward. And And so once you start to notice your thoughts, then you can start to pay attention to how you respond to certain people. Are you triggered by certain people? Do you, go back to an inner child with certain people? Very often, when we overreact or react strongly in situations, then we are being triggered back to an inner child, and that inner child will not allow us to grow. That inner child could be is more often than not associated with an event that happened in your childhood where that inner child, something traumatic happened. But it doesn't have to be big. It could be that there was a fight between your parents taking place and you got caught in the middle. And as children, especially up till the age of 2, we don't differentiate ourselves between those that are closest to us and like our parents or our siblings. It's all one and the same. So if 2 people get in a fight and we're in the room, we feel the energy of both of those and we can carry it with us for the rest of our lives. And that can be a block, because when something, an emotion that's similar comes up within us, we go back to that inner child and have to deal with that inner child. So that limits us. So coming to an understanding of the inner child, it's not just one. It's going to be, anytime something traumatic happened, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, sexual, like whatever happened, any trauma or emotion can create an inner child. As adults, we would say about someone, if someone lost their husband or their wife, that they've never been the same since then. Well, that's kind of like that inner child where something traumatic happened and a part of their soul actually goes into hiding, steps away to shield it, to protect it, so that it can heal itself. And what happens eventually is that it can be reconnected, reattached within ourselves, and it can be released. But work has to be done with that inner child, or that part of the soul that went in hiding, because it goes into hiding until the soul is ready to allow it to return because it's strong enough. Same thing with that inner child. I've had, even on my own stuff, a fight my mom got really mad at me one time, and I carried that piece of that inner child. And anytime I felt that feeling of abandonment or rejection, I would go back to that inner child. And then I would respond the way that inner child at 3 years old would respond, because that child was never given the tools to respond any differently. And if you're being triggered and you're going back to that inner child, then you've got to deal with that child at that level, unless you can get that inner child to reincorporate. And often it's an awareness, it's meditating, it's going to actually connect with that inner child. If you can find a picture of yourself at that age and really, sit down and talk to that inner child. And you would talk to an inner child just like you would talk to any other child. If a child is 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, talk to that child as you would any other child, that you love them, that you appreciate them, that something is never going to happen again, that you'll always be there to shield them and take care of them, and just make them feel warm and connected and safe. And you can actually ask that inner child what they need. What would make them feel safe. There's actually been times in working with an inner child that I actually had to go to the dollar store and buy little toys for little girls. And, it wasn't, like $5, $10, but that made that inner child, that inner little girl feel better and appreciated, and that I was doing what she asked. And I was able to reincorporate that inner child back into my soul workings and let go. So I wasn't triggered the same way anymore from that. And it's not that it disappears completely. There are times that, when something very traumatic happens, you can go back again. But so often what happens is that once you have an awareness of what's taking place, then you can deal with it differently. So often how we respond to things, stress is how we react. When we can learn to respond, then we can change. And so it is, this is one of the biggest things, is as you become more aware and step into an awareness of your story and who you really are, when you react to something, it becomes over time so much easier to go, wow, I'm reacting here. What is going on? What am I being shown? Where am I being guided to go back and look and see? Why am I being shown this? There's something that needs to be addressed, something that needs to be healed within me. And you can assess it, whether it's in that moment or, 5 minutes later or whatever, but you can look at it and go, wow, that's really interesting. I see how I'm responding, and I see how I'm being triggered, and I can assess the emotions that are coming up and explore them. But I don't have to react. I can respond, and that reduces stress and puts you into the flow more so that you don't overreact. You learn to breathe through it, deep belly breaths that will help you carry through that event and move you through so that you don't have to deal with these events in the same way that you did before, and help you become unstuck and to move more into your power. And there will always be, it's not like, there's only a few things here. We all have a number of blocks and inner children that are stuck. But the more we move through them, the more quickly we are aware of any blocks that do come up, and the more quickly we can move through them, understand what happened, and develop the tools and the tips and techniques that you need in order to just release them and be that observer that says, oh, this happened. Oh, okay, I'm going to let this go. Oh, okay, we can move on. And I think that's where a lot of the work that I do is to provide people to help guide them to an awareness of what their blocks are, what's helping or what's making them feel stuck in their lives. And then, showing them the tips and the tools and the techniques that are available to be able to do this work themselves, so that, situation arises, they can assess it, they know they've got the tools in their tool belt to help them move through and to adjust their lives. I certainly have clients that I've been working with for years, but we work on ourselves for the rest of our lives. There is a Confucius saying that when you finish your house, you die. It's kind of the same thing with spiritual work, with awakening work, is that it's ongoing, because there is so much to uncover. We came here to this earth to experience adventures, to experience emotions, to experience different aspects of who we are, and to understand our response, understand the human response. And each one of these as you move through, there's always going to be more, because we come in contact with different people, different events. What's going on in the world right now has been a huge issue for many people, because they haven't learned how to deal with what comes up. So often what's going on right now with people is that they don't feel that they have control. The world is kind of crazy, right? And there's so many things happening that they don't feel in control. And then they get triggered back to their childhood and, not having control in their childhood. So they go back there all the time, and that amps up the anxiety, the worry, the depression even more. So, once again, it's a whole cycle. But the more you can come back into you, the more you can become aware of who you are and what your story is, what your blocks are, the more quickly you can move through them, and the more quickly you can come to a place of serenity, if that's what you're looking for, peace, more joy, more happiness, better health. When you are able to come back to a place of equanimity within yourself, you can heal yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. All of these things will help you, provide you with the tools that you need. We are all designed to heal ourselves. We've just forgotten how. But when you are in that place of alignment with what your soul wants, because you've uncovered your blocks, uncovered those things that are preventing you from jumping into alignment, then your life runs as smoothly as possible. And you can have that joy, happiness, better health, whatever you're looking for, whatever your more is. So to find out more, Joanna Rogister, Soul Alchemist, that's my Facebook page, but I'm also on Speak Up and Empower, and speakupandempower.com is the website. My Facebook page is Joanna Rogister or Soul Alchemy. Soul Alchemist website is soulalchemisthealing.com. Variety of places, but reach out, any of them. This is Real Talk Soul Alchemy, part of Speak Up and Empower's online membership-based community series of Real Talks that are presented by our experts on a weekly basis. So check out our calendar at speakupandempower.com to find out more. We have Real Talks that vary from Real Talk skincare, travel, to Real Talk Spiritual Entrepreneur, and Real Talk Soul Alchemy, Wellness Renegade, Messages from the Divine. There's so many Real Talks that are available. Whatever information, whatever wisdom, knowledge, story you want to hear, we have someone that can provide you with the tools to help you on your journey of having more in your life. So Real Talks are conversations that change the way you look at the world. Join me again next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll talk more about soul alchemy and how to transform your life. Have a great day.